What do we got, sir?
So this week, for topic number one, we are once again utilizing Jeff Borzello's way too early top 25. And we're going to look at the top 15 teams and highlight one thing, maybe two, if we're feeling especially spicy on a certain team. 1 to 2 things that this team needs to do or needs to have happen to win a national title. I
Ooh.
tried to go through the top 25, and once I got past 15, I was like, there's maybe 1 or 2 of these teams who could contend for a title, in my opinion. So we cut it off at 15.
It's
Okay.
extremely fun.
Okay.
Extremely fun.
And like Carter did with X Factors, I want to start from the bottom and count up. Start it.
Oh, good.
God, Riley. No way.
Skate right by that, Riley. Who's number 15?
Number 15 is Purdue. What does Purdue need to do or need to have happen to win the national title?
I think Braden Smith needs to be an All-American first team. I think he needs to be the undisputed, maybe not undisputed, but he needs to assert himself into the best guard in the country conversations right now with Mark Sears and RJ Davis. But I think to win a national title, though, he needs to be that guy. He needs to be that level guy. He needs to be a first-team All-American. He needs to be damn near almost National Player of the Year.
Congregation say amen, first of all. Second of all, I'd like to pull rank and twist this topic into a new tweak for this. We actually all have to say a thing, and we can't take the other person's thing. Because in reality, for any of these teams to win a national championship, more than one thing is going to need to happen, and we need to put our collective brains together on this. Because that was the obvious one. Braden Smith needs to be great. That's Carter's answer. The second thing that would need to happen in tandem with Braden Smith being great is that his backcourt mate Fletcher Loyer needs to take a jump. I'm going to say this straight up. No dancing around it. Everybody wants the freshmen to be the guys who take leaps. People are saying Fletcher Loyer is what he is. I don't think I'm okay with that. I don't think I'm okay with pointing to the guy who's been a starting shooting guard on a team that went to the national title game and won back-to-back Big Ten championships, hasn't lost a non-conference game in his entire career, and saying he's a finished product, he's not done. Hell no. This is the dude who tormented Tennessee. This dude is capable of significantly more. If Braden Smith needs to take a leap post Zach Edey, so does Fletcher Loyer. I need more than 10 a game out of him. I need him to be like a 15 a game guy, and them to truly step into Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy level as a backcourt together.
I like that. Like the Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy shout too. Like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, mine actually was Trey Kaufman-Renn. Played just 17 minutes a game last year, was somewhat efficient, mostly efficient, had stretches where he looked really good. If you stretch that, let's say 17 minutes a game to 25 to 28 minutes a game, can his point total, like, can he go from being a 6-point per game scorer to being a, let's say 13 per game scorer, maybe give you 7 boards, shoot like 33% from 3, making, I don't know, 20 to 30 on the season, because they're going to need some sort of production from the front court. And I think TKR's got to be the go-to guy despite the Daniel Jacobson hype.
Totally agree. Love it. Okay. This is already fun. This is one of my favorite topics we've ever done. What's 14?
14, we have Creighton.
So do we change the order on who goes? Because I don't want how do we do it?
Ooh, you want to make it more challenging for you. I like that.
Yeah, well, I went first last time, but do I go first every time?
I think we let Riley steer. Riley tells us who goes first.
Yeah, Greg, you can go first on this one. We'll just rotate. So I'll go second. Carter goes third.
Okay, the most critical thing by far for Creighton is that Pop Isaacs needs to be nasty. And you can define nasty however you want to. But I think he probably needs to be like better than Trey Alexander nasty, because there is no Baylor Shireman on this team. Stephen Ashworth might be better or might be good, but you're basically trying to replace both Alexander and Shireman's studness with one guy who has been the best player at Texas Tech, but he's a high-volume dude. He needs to be like a true All-American level player, I think, for Creighton to be as good as national championship good.
I'm going to go with Mason Miller, and I know that probably hurts Carter and I get to talk about him, but Creighton hasn't really gotten anything from their four-man, since Ryan Hawkins was there? Was that 2 years ago? Like Greg hit the nail on the head as far as saying they need that scoring pop in lieu of Baylor Shireman being there. I don't think Pop can do it on its own. That's where it's got to be Mason Miller, maybe Jemiah Neal, one of those two dudes.
So mine's in conjunction with your guys because of this. I need to replace that production, right? And instead of trying to ask those guys to do it, I think there needs to be somewhat of a shift in Creighton basketball. Like, I think it needs to be completely on, like, you just ride Caulk till the absolute wheels fall off. Like, he averaged 17 last year, but I think there was games where, like, obviously other guys were going, so he didn't get touches. I think, like, they need to do Zach Edey like usage with Caulk and just like rock out with that. And I think he's good enough, he's skilled enough to have even larger numbers than he had this past season.
I love that, Cart.
So let's go on to number 13, Tennessee Volunteers.
Ugh.
I get to start with this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Darlinstone, Dubar, and Chaz Lanier collectively need to be 90% of Dalton Connect. They need that for them to win a title. Like, if they didn't win it with Connect, didn't get to the Final Four, I just don't think like that, the just being defensive minded with one bucket getter. I think the formula could work. It could have broken differently and they made it to the championship game or something. But yeah, they need Dubar and Lanier to be legit.
I'm not sure where I'm gonna go with this one, to be honest with you.
I can go if you want more time.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I am going to spin this on its head a little bit. They need to not even try to replace Dalton Connect. They need to forget that Dalton Connect existed. Because the reality is, even if Dubar's great, even if Lanier is great, even if as a tandem, like you said, the production needs to be 90%. I agree with that. If they try and do the same model where it's like we have one superstar scorer and everybody else just guards and is a role player, it's going to fail. That worked because Dalton Connect was super special. The reality is not that Tennessee like reached some level they've never reached. Tennessee basketball has been great for a bunch of years. They had Grant Williams, they had Admiral Schofield, they had Kennedy Chandler. They've had good teams, even if the March runs haven't happened. You need to just go back to being good again and get more shots at this. Build your team around who you actually have. Zakai Ziegler's a leader. He needs to take a step forward. You got new faces in the front court and on the wings. But if they try and just say, like, you're our Dubar, you're our Dalton Connect, I think it fails miserably. I think Rick Barnes won't do that, quite frankly, and they'll be pretty good.
I think for this team to win a championship, and this might be, I think a lot of people would agree with me, but I think there needs to be a Zakai Ziegler step back. I want Zakai Ziegler to operate like DeJuan Harris more. And that sounds crazy because we'll come on here all the time like we want DeJuan Harris to be more aggressive. Mm-hmm. And I think there needs to be like I want a middle of what Ziegler does right now and what DeJuan Harris does. And I think if Ziegler does that, it'll work out better instead of trying to kind of like just make him this high, like, because he's a high level point guard, but I don't necessarily think he needs to be like high usage and like you're looking for him to be the guy to get you shots.
Yeah, I like that one a lot too. Good start to this. We can move on to Texas A&M, number 12. So, Carter, you're starting this one.
Wade Taylor needs to shoot 40%. Just 40. That's it. Just 40. He shoots 40%. They'll have a chance because he's the type of guard that can get to the tournament and single-handedly score enough for his team to make a run. And we look back, we're like, damn, I can't believe that Texas A&M 7-seed team made a run because Wade Taylor went nuclear in the tournament.
Riley, I want you to go second here because I have an answer I'd like to give for this, but if you don't mention a certain player, I'm going to pivot.
Yeah, mine is Manny Obaseki. I think he needs to be the clear-cut, like, 1B to Taylor's 1A is probably a bridge too far, but the clear-cut number 2, where it's like, Wade, you can rock out, you can take your shots, but on those nights where you don't have it to keep you shooting 40%, we're going to turn it over to Manny and make sure he gets his touches. I thought he was so good for them down the stretch of last year. I love the size, athleticism, and like handle combination. Yeah, I want to see him take one more step further and get to that all SEC caliber player. And they need it to contend for a national title.
All right, that's fair. My joke answer I wanted to give was they need a pandemic to hit because they need every other serious title caliber program to like have mass sicknesses for this to be even a possible outcome. My nice answer or player specific answer is they need Pharrell Payne to be the best big in the SEC. I think that's possible. I love Pharrell Payne. I think he was kind of wasting away at Minnesota. And it's one of the more underrated great fit transfers there is because he is so physical and so good, relentless on the boards. You put him in that system. I think he's going to be way better than Coleman. I think he'll be the star in that front court. It's just how good is he actually? Wade Taylor needs help, man. He's not winning this title by himself. If it becomes Wade Taylor and Payne, I could buy them being a top 5 team.
Like that shout a lot too. He does fit in with all the offensive rebounding that like Buzz Williams has really made a name for himself with over the past couple of years. Moving on to Auburn at number 11. Is it my turn to kick off? Or is it Greg? I think it's Greg. Greg, it's you.
Do whatever you want, sir. This is your show.
You started off, Greg, for Auburn.
Okay. They need Janai Broome. I'm gonna keep it simple. They need Janai Broome to be the no doubt best player in the country. I think he's capable of that. I don't think there's any world where the typical Bruce Pearl team does anything other than the typical Bruce Pearl team, like good regular season, 2 or 3 seed, win a couple tournament games and lose. If Janai Broome stays just like the very good player that he is. And to be completely honest with you, you go back to that Yale game. Yale tried to give that game away in a variety of ways down the stretch. And I kept waiting for the moment where Janai Broome was just going to be unstoppable and win the game for them. He didn't do it. He's great. He needs to be greater than great.
Yeah, I was thinking of the free throws in particular down the stretch. So I like that. I like that shout a lot. But I'm gonna go with my guy, Miles Kelly. They got to rein in his shot selection. It was not good at Georgia Tech last year. You could blame that on playing for a team without really many shot creators around him. But the last thing you want is for Miles Kelly to be like a 6'7" KD Johnson. There's a world where you can maximize his ball handling, and he's had good shooting seasons before. You got to find a way to get that version of Miles Kelly. Because I think for this team to reach its potential, I think he needs to be the best guard as opposed to Pegues.
Miles Kelly, Kai, stand up. This one is easy for me, and it has nothing to do with players. It's Bruce Pearl. I'm sick of this 24, 26 minute a game BS with these players. Play your guys, play your dogs 30 minutes a game. I'm sick of this. Why did Janai Broome play 27 minutes a game last season? Like, I get this platoon BS out of here. Pick your 5 to 6 best guys, 7 if you really want to get there, and play your dogs. Massive minutes.
Cart, I adore this answer from you. I love that answer. I think that's the correct answer.
It also transitions very nicely to a coach who will play his starters big minutes. Shout out to my guy, Hubert Davis. And at number 10, the North Carolina Tar Heels. I will kick us off because it's my turn. And they just need a 5-man to be good, like serviceable to good. I think they're going to have enough perimeter pop, enough scoring from the guards and the wings. I just want one of Zayden High, Jalen Washington. You can throw Lubin in there if you want. Maybe even give Jalen Withers a little bit of love. One of those dudes to block shots, catch lobs, and grab boards.
Okay.
They don't have to be a star. You don't have to play through them. Just be serviceable in a role.
Okay.
Moving on to Cart.
Got it. Asking guys who've not been serviceable to be serviceable. Got it. I'm messing with you. Greg's rubbing off on me. I mentioned this in the X Factor one, but I'm a recycle my answer. If Ian Jackson, is it Ian or Ian? I always mess it up. Do you know, Riley? It's Ian.
Mm-hmm.
If Ian Jackson is elite,
why did you mess that up? It's the name Ian.
Ian Eagle.
Ian.
There's precedent for this.
Yeah.
Come on.
The rapper Ian.
Just dropping like I always mess that up is crazy. His name's Ian.
I do, but in any regard, he needs to be special. Because if he's special and Cadeau takes the jump that I think he's gonna take, then I don't care if it's 4-on-5. If I can get Cadeau, Davis, Jackson, and Tyson to just all be special, that I don't even see the 5-man until it ends in an Elite Eight loss, then I'm fine with that.
Okay. I'm going to go with the thing that you both used as qualifiers before you even got to your thing. There's no chance UNC's anything if Elliot Cadeau doesn't take the jump. Like, even in Carter's little world right there where we need this to happen, he prefaced it by saying, and also if Cadeau does this, Cadeau has to be not just good, but like great if North Carolina is going to be taken seriously this year. Last year, he could just be like passable because Harrison Ingram was really good and because you had Armando Bacot and because Cormac Ryan was really special at times and moments. None of these dudes are proven anymore. Nobody's proven on this team, right? Like, literally, other than Van Allen and RJ, I don't think you can make an argument that there's any player on this team that we know is a good college basketball player. So maybe Cade Tyson, I guess, but there's big competition caveats there. They need Cadeau to not just be passable and not even just be good. It needs to be like superstar breakout, him and RJ together. And there's a lot of tweaks that have to happen to his game for that to happen, but it could. You guys are trying to sell me that it will, but we can't even have a serious UNC conversation if that does not happen first.
I'll give that to you, Greg. We'll move on to number 9, Arizona. Greg, get us started here.
Caleb Love shots need to go in. And not for the season. Nothing in the season matters. He needs 3 weeks where he shoots like he did in Carolina Blue, and nothing else on the team is relevant.
I'm looking more at the wings. I don't hate that. I don't hate that answer. I don't know. I like. There's just so much volatility. You don't know what you're going to get with Caleb Love. I want the wings to be able to carry the load a little bit more if given a chance, whether that's Del Orso, whether that's KJ Lewis, and then moving into the front court with Trey Townsend. I think Del Orso sort of needs to be either he or Lewis needs to be that Pella Larson type, and hopefully with a little bit more scoring juice to them if they want to win a title.
I'm going to say the underclassmen. KJ Lewis, the freshman Carter Bryant, who I really like.
I love Carter Bryant.
Revis. Like, the underclassmen, I think, need to step up. Because like Greg kind of said, or maybe it was Riley, like, Pell Larson was so massive to this team. And so was Kashad Johnson. And I think Trey Townsend is going to be great at the 4 spot. But you need somebody at the 3, someone at the center position to pick up what, Ballo and Larson left with this team. And it falls on the shoulders of those underclassmen and freshmen like Carter Bryant.
Yeah, that's even mentioning, like, losing Kashad Johnson and Ballo are huge losses, even if you like that transfer class. So I think the underclassmen covers all of that.
They lost 4 starters.
Yeah, that's tough.
4.
Reloaded, but needed to hit. So move on to number 8 with Duke. Back to you, Carter.
The Young Bulls got to be allowed to rock.
They got to rock.
The Young Bulls have to rock.
Can that be 2 things? I think it's the Young Bulls have to be allowed to rock, and then they also have to rock. That's 2 things, right? Like, one of those is like on Shire, and one of those is on the Young Bulls.
So mine is the Young Bulls gotta rock. Yours is the Young Bulls have to be allowed to
have to be allowed to rock. Yeah.
Yep.
If it happens in tandem, they're nasty.
I'm going to stray away from the Young Bulls and say Tyrese Proctor needs to have that breakout that we thought he'd have last year. Because if you get inconsistent Tyrese Proctor, I don't care how good Cooper Flagg is, it's not going to lead to a national title.
Interesting. Is this you trying to spin the narrative that Duke is not Team Young Bull because you love the Young Bulls?
I'm scared of the Young Bulls. Yeah, maybe. It might be. Yes. Keep Darren Harris and Con Knuppel on the bench, please.
Riley, how much does it hurt you in your heart that like every year we have a Let the Young Bulls Rock team, and this year that team is Duke for us?
Yeah, it's not going to be. If y'all start becoming like hashtag brotherhood boys, Maynard can take my spot if Duke is good. If they suck, then yes, I'll be here every Friday. But if Duke is number 3 or higher in the country, congrats, Maynard. You're getting called up from the Discord, and I'm going down to the G League again. Let's move on to Iowa State, number 7. Is it back to me? Sorry, I'm losing count of this.
No, I think it's my turn, actually.
Okay, go ahead, Cart.
I need Momcilovic to be a lottery pick. if Momcilovic is a lottery pick with everything else, I think that gives this team national champion. There needs to be an NBA player on this team. Like, wow, Greg and I did the exercise, I think, last year where we're like, does the team have an NBA player? Momcilovic needs to be an NBA player, and I think that puts them in the national championship conversation.
Mm-hmm.
They need one.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with Cart here. Just to be a little different, I think some of the new guys need to be more key pieces than people think they need to be. Like, I think a lot of people think a team that has Taman Lipsey and Gilbert and Momcilovic is going to be fine, and you don't really need much. My pushback would be if that's still the team build, this team can't win a national championship. Like that, to me, the upside isn't there with that top three. They almost need one of the front court pieces that is new, that is added to this team to break out and surprise everybody. My pick for that would be Joshua Jefferson. I really like him, and I think it's a good fit. But yeah, I think that needs to happen.
Joshua Jefferson was going to be my pick, so I'm going to turn my attention to Caden Fish coming off the bench. I don't know nothing about this guy, but his name is Caden Fish, and I'm looking at the roster sheets right now, and so I need Caden to emerge as a really good six-man. So let's move on to Baylor, and I'm going to kick us off for the Bears and just say defense. They need someone to emerge as like either a wing stopper or even an interior presence. Omir's one knock is he's been a really bad post defender throughout his career. Jeremy Roach was never a positive defender for Duke either. So yeah, I don't care if it comes from the wing, if it comes from the interior, they need someone to set the tone on that end of the floor.
I like that.
Okay. My pushback, my answer is a pushback on Riley. Let's just abandon it. Let's not find somebody. Let's go full. We're an offensive team. Let's go full Illinois. Let's go full like score more than us. And
those teams can't win though. We're talking win a national title. Like I know you love that bit, but those teams straight up cannot win the title, right?
I guess not. I'm in the La La Land world that I live in. They can, but I guess not. So that's not a susceptible answer. I'm gonna say that Norchad has to be. Norchad's got to be the best big in the Big 12 if they want to win a national title.
I love that answer. I think that's the right answer. Did I miss something? Did neither of you guys mention VJ Edgecombe in a big way yet?
I was gonna give it to you. I was
Yeah,
gonna let you
that. Okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't crazy on that. Okay. Whew, buckle up. I think if Baylor wins a national championship, VJ Edgecombe is one of the three best players in college basketball. And like,
three best.
Yeah, and like there's a serious conversation at the end of this that's like, should VJ go first overall? Like he's just that transcendently good.
Okay,
like not like Jacoby Walter, Keontae George good. Like, holy shit, this is his team. Jeremy Roach, go to the side. And I think it could happen because I love VJ.
Yeah, great pick. Moving into the top five, we have Gonzaga. Greg, floor is yours.
You know what? This might be enlightening for me. The most important thing to me for Gonzaga is that they stay healthy. I think this team can win a national championship without anything crazy happening. They just need to have their full pieces.
It's a really high floor team. I love the pieces. I kind of had that same realization, but Cart, you got anything?
Mine's a little hot takey, but I believe it in my heart of hearts. I think the keys need to be given to Nolan Hickman as the point guard.
Wow. Kind of surprised on that one.
How long do we have to wait for like the Nemhard to actually get to the point where like he does the Nemhard thing?
It's a good question.
Eventually that name's gonna wear out a little bit, right?
No.
All right. My pushback to that would be like Nolan Hickman's been a breakout candidate for 3 years running now. He is taking the mantle from Reese Beekman as the breakout
allow
guy.
him to do it though. Allow him to do it. He was a 14-point per game scorer last season. He did play well.
Yeah, that's true.
Nemhard kind of killed him in games they lost. He turned the ball over. Like, I don't know. Like, you have guys like Khalif Battle off the bench. Like, I don't know. Maybe Hickman having a higher ball usage might help. And I know Gonzaga fans are going to eat me alive, but my thoughts.
There's a diabolical answer here. If you wanted to make the spin zone that this team can't win a national title as currently constructed because you don't believe in Nembhard or Nolan Hickman, like we just talked about, the spin would be you need one of them to somehow be unable to play, and Braden Smith's red shirt comes off. And Braden Smith is a ceiling raiser in a way that neither Hickman or Nembhard would be. I think that's possible, but like
Yeah.
that's a diabolical answer.
It is diabolical. My answer for the record was just someone ascending to a star level potential, whether that's a Jai, whether that's EK. I penciled in Nembhard. Maybe I should consider Hickman as well. Just because it's like there are some is greater than the total of its parts, whatever that phrase is. But I would like to see one of these guys become that Corey Kispert, Rui Hachimura, take your pick, like whatever, like big time Gonzaga scorer of the past few years you can think of. I guess Drew Timme and Graham Ike's case, like that type of player to get them over the hump. So let's moving on to number 4, Houston. I'll start with this one. Milos Uzan needs to be freshman year Milos Uzan, where it was like he's making shots. He's a true point guard, has a ton of potential, as opposed to the one who regressed last year and couldn't really make shots.
That's an obvious answer on that one. I feel like mine. One of the other bigs outside of Roberts, I think, needs to break out a little bit. Whether it be Francis, Tugler. I like Tugler to be that guy.
I love Tugler.
But I think one of those guys needs to step up. I feel good about Uzan, Cryer, Sharp, and even just Roberts being Roberts. I need one more guy.
Gee whiz.
I'm struggling with this one because my gut answer at first was they need some tourney luck. They need some tourney luck. The same way we talked about Illinois, like it's not anything they're doing wrong necessarily. They just need a break, like a good draw. But I think Houston has had some decent breaks. Like I liked their region this last year. It was pretty open. And then they had the Shed injury. But like, I don't know. It just feels like they just need to keep performing. They've been top 2 in KenPom for 4 years in a row. So like just keep doing that and keep taking stabs at the dice roll that is the tournament. So that's my answer. I don't think there's any crazy thing for players. It's just get some tourney luck on your side.
Yeah. Not a whole lot. I mean, just based on what's been going right for them so far. Speaking of a team, look at me with these transitions. A team that everything has gone right for the past 2 years, the UConn Huskies.
Wow, what a transition for you. I'll let Greg go first on this one.
You're pointing me where I want to go, I guess. I need to be right about Aiden Mahaney. I need to be correct. I think I am correct. Reminder, the last time I was this bold about a transfer player, it was Terrence Shannon Jr., and I nailed it. And I was called crazy, and he was awesome. So I don't exactly hope that Aiden Mahaney has the word-for-word script of Terrence Shannon Jr.'s last 2 years, but I think he could be an All-American. I truly do. And Dan Hurley's talking like he's going to be their best player, which is important to me because if he didn't view him that way, he'd be talking about other guys. I think this is going to be the Mahaney show, and I think it's going to work.
Carter, you got one?
I think their best chance of winning a title, even though there is a great chance on this, is that Hassan Diarra can remain like the backup point guard bench guy. And like maybe a freshman like Ahmad Noel is just that dynamic and that good. And he steps up in that role. And I guess it'd be a 2-part question. Like if there's something that could keep Hassan Diarra and Samson Johnson in their last year's role, that would greatly help them win a championship. Like if Terrace steps up, or if, like I said, another point guard steps up, whether it be him, Solomon Ball, and just keep those 2 guys in the role they were in last year, I think that would do wonders for their championship aspirations.
Yeah, Solo Ball was my pick, and I don't think you talked about him enough to take it away from me. I personally believe he has the second most NBA potential on the team after McNeely. His flashes were so good last year. He was really exceptional in the non-conference, was making threes, showing off his athleticism, And I would like to see him and Aiden Mahaney be the backcourt. That's a starting backcourt. You keep Hassan Diarra coming off the bench as that steadying hand. Let Solo rock out a little bit.
I'll let that shout.
Me too.
Yeah. All right, let's do Alabama. My turn again to kick it off. Someone other than Cliff has to play defense. I think that's the only thing. I'm really high on this Alabama team. I think their roster's awesome. But that is my only concern is that, like, is this just going to be kind of a repeat of last year's top 15-ish team when all is said and done, just with a little more shot blocking?
Mine's that Cliff actually has to be good. Like, we need to figure out if, like, Cliff's actually good or if he's a Rutgers merchant.
Oh, I'm kind of in between a few things here. So my initial gut was that Grant Nelson needs to be better than he was last year. Like, I think Grant Nelson was playing well at the end of the season, and that's part of why they made a run in March. But for much of the season, I was kind of unimpressed. Like, if you compare Nelson to like Shireman, I think Baylor was a lot better at Creighton right away than Grant Nelson was at Bama. And Shireman year 2, I think, got even better for Creighton. You probably need some sort of leap from Grant Nelson to be taken seriously. But the more important answer for me would actually be the role guys. Like, Sears, Nelson, and Cliff are going to be title good. Losing Rylan Griffin to another team that can win the title is massive to me. Aiden Holloway stunk. Aiden Holloway was a huge part of why Auburn wasn't good last year. Everyone seems to think Reitzel's a guaranteed breakout guy. Darian Reed's talented. Sherrell's talented. But, like, I do question who's around the big three. And they need at least 2 of those guys to be legitimately Rylan Griffin level or better.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one as well, Greg. Like the ancillary pieces, even you can mention like a Houston Millette or Chris Youngblood, all stepping up a level in competition. So
as we're saying these names straight up, this is why I'm lower on Alabama than you guys. Like, I don't view the supporting cast as a title worthy supporting cast. I just don't. I'm very questionable on these guys outside of Sears, Nelson, and Cliff.
I mean, I think that's fair. So that'll get us to number 1, Kansas.
Health. Like, literally just stay healthy.
Yeah.
That's a cop-out answer. So I'll go with this. I think in order for them to win a national title, AJ Storr has to be no. Hunter Dickinson has to be the best player. Hunter Dickinson needs to be the best player on this team for it to be a championship team. I think it's better if AJ Storr is Robin and Hunter Dickinson is Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to tweak that, and I know I'm not allowed to take the same answer, but I was in on Hunter, and I thought you were going Storr. The one and only most important thing for Kansas, no doubt, is Hunter Dickinson becomes the national player of the year. Like, it's not just best player on the team anymore. This is like, he will decide where this team goes. And it hasn't always been the case. I have talked about it a bunch of times. The one time that Hunter Dickinson had the perfect surrounding pieces around him, he was unstoppable as a true freshman. That was the worst version of Hunter. He was unstoppable. He was the best player on the team. Michigan was the 3rd best team in the country. By the way, go back and look at it. That year, Michigan graded out like nearly as good as Gonzaga and Baylor. It was Gonzaga, Baylor, and Michigan. They all spent time at the top. And then Michigan lost in the Elite 8 in a game where they didn't have Isaiah Livers and Franz airballed a shot. Like, they were title caliber Hunter's freshman year when he had the right pieces around him. He has not had the right pieces around him since. Everybody's written him off as this loser. The pieces are perfect. This is his time to shine. He needs to be Zach Edey of college basketball this year.
The only thing I'll add to that is Kansas just needs to avoid a team that can kill them in ball screens in the tournament. You know, that's the big question with Hunter. Can he guard in space? Can he guard a ball screen? That Michigan team did have like an otherworldly defender with Franz covering it up. I think Rylan Griffin's a good defender, not on that level though. And I feel like that's the only way you're going to beat Kansas. The few games that they will lose, they'll probably just have a guard going nuclear out of ball screens or something.
Yeah, completely agreed. That was maybe my favorite Riley Davis segment that he's ever brought to the table. I really enjoyed that, boys. Good work.